Republican insanity has reached a new level. Jim Jordan is coming out and saying that he has 14 FBI whistleblowers saying that the raid on Trump's place was inappropriate. Now, the fact that anyone would believe Jim Jordan has people coming to him to whistleblow is just absurd. Jim Jordan was the one that helped cover up the Ohio State University pedophile, covering up his wrestlers getting raped, and they come forward and say that he knew, and it's idiotic that he claims that he doesn't know. But the media still allows him on TV to make claims like this. Jim Jordan says, 14 FBI agents have come to our office as whistleblowers, and they are good people. There are a lot of good people in the FBI. It's the top that is the problem. Some of these good agents are coming to us, telling us what is baloney, what's going on, the political nature of the Justice Department. God bless them for doing it. Absurd, right? He has 14 people coming to him, telling him information. Has he provided any of it? He could release the documents, proving that he has 14 whistleblowers, but he doesn't because they don't exist. Jim Jordan covered up pedophiles. You think anyone would trust him with any reality? No. He's making up this lie to protect Trump, to put it on Democrats. Like Merrick Garland is going after Republicans hard. I mean, Merrick Garland is one of the weakest AGs that we have ever had. We have an insurrection underneath him that he's prosecuting and giving them slaps on the wrist, pretending that he is any threat to the rule of law because he is going too hard on somebody. It's absurd. The reality is, even after they found that Trump lied about having documents, Trump signed a statement saying that they took all the classified documents that he had the last time they went down there. It's unlikely that Garland is going to actually press for serious charges, which is extremely serious because the only reason Trump had those documents is for treason, to sell them to, foreign powers. The problem with the progressive media is very simple. They try to be both sides, but the reality is it's not even close. Republicans are traitors trying to overthrow America through any means possible, and they have to criticize the Democrats to make themselves feel like they're doing the right thing. But what is the reality? What has Biden done? Don't believe them when they say Biden hasn't done anything. Biden has racked up win after win. And the reason why the progressive media doesn't see it, because it's things that don't 100% align with what they want. They want everything right now. Not the reality that Democrats have been pushing this country to get us more of what we want. You have a choice. Vote for Democrats and keep your democracy. Vote for Republicans and enjoy enslavement. So what has Biden done? How about the Inflation Reduction Act? Puts a minimum tax on corporations. Even if Republicans cut taxes again, they would have to do away with the 15% minimum tax. Is it enough? No. But if we increase the amount of Democrats in the Senate, then Manchin wouldn't be calling the shots. And we could push through a lot more progressive bills. Now, that might be pie in the sky, but the reality is Manchin and Sinema are corporate stooges. What else has Biden done in that single bill? About $300 billion worth of savings into Medicare. That lowers prescription drug prices for every grandma and grandpa across this nation. Because not only will the government be saving $300 billion, since Medicare drugs will cost less, they have to pay less. Lowering medical bills, reducing energy costs, and fighting global warming. Not enough, but still more than you would get anywhere else. America Rescue Plan cut child poverty by 40%. Did it last long enough? No. But there is no magic wand. It's policy. It is chess. You choose the best candidate to get what you want. The policies, not the opinions, not what they say, but what they actually do, the bills that they pass. The American Rescue Plan saved America's economy. The only reason inflation actually exists is because people are buying more stuff than currently sits on the shelves. There are thousands of things just sitting because they're so in demand, they don't have enough parts. Because Democrats can actually accomplish things. Infrastructure, massive investment in infrastructure, which will save our economy for generations to come. How about the veteran bill for toxic burn pits? Republicans tried to block it, and they failed. The media actually did their job and held them accountable for doing the worst thing possible. They got butthurt, so they took it out on the veterans. Now, if the media actually did their job and pointed out all the stuff that Republicans are doing versus all the stuff that Democrats are accomplishing, we wouldn't have to be here. How about 100 million vaccinations in its first 100 days? That's what the media told you was impossible. He couldn't possibly do this. This is just a campaign promise. He doubled that amount. 200 million vaccinations in the first 100 days. And if Republicans actually helped at all, other than trying to run America into the ground, we wouldn't be stuck at 72% of adults vaccinated. How about the Domestic Chip Production Act? America starts producing more. Not only just chips, but manufacturing jobs are also up. Job growth. Most appointed judges to dilute the Republican judges on the court that constantly step in Democrats' ways, no matter what, make up new legal theories on the spot, or even when Republicans sue on baseless charges, they legislate from the bench, taking away any power that they see from the president, from Congress, because they have an issue with Democrats and they're unfit to be on the bench. He stopped federal executions and overturned the transgender ban in the military. He has done so much stuff, but the media ignores it, and progressives say he hasn't accomplished anything because he hasn't accomplished exactly what they want. So they constantly attack Biden because they just don't realize they're getting what they want. It's just not all right this second. Because when the media is stacked against Democrats, the lobbyists, the corporations, Republicans, How much can they actually do before the media cuts their throats? They're already screaming about the Democrats being ultra leftists. The Democrats have been kicked in the teeth no matter what they did, no matter what they accomplished, and they still accomplish. So, what are you going to actually do? Willing to join with the Republicans to overthrow America and hope that you are not one of the ones that are executed? Or are you going to vote for a Democrat and accept that you're not going to get everything every single election? But the reality is, the moral arc of the universe does bend towards justice, but you have to fight to bend it further and faster. That's it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican idiot that has, belief in space lasers that set California on fire, is now once again trying to get teachers murdered by the Republican insane cult. This is what she tweets. Parents, raise your boys to be men and protect them from teachers who try to deceive them to become women. Guard your children from such monsters in these evil days. So, teachers are trying to convince your boys to have sex change? That seems really suspect, doesn't it? When was a teacher able to convince you of doing anything? Teachers can't convince you to do homework. But man, cutting off that's easy. Yeah, this is the level of Republicans. Perfectly willing to get teachers killed because they honestly believe that children will cut off because someone told them to. I mean, think back to high school just for a brief second. Was your parent able to tell you to stop dating anyone? I love her and I'm going to be with her forever. Yeah. You don't actually tell teenagers anything, right? But this insanity, this stupidity, will get the Republicans, whoever has a transgender child, to murder whoever he blames for it. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who should never have any media coverage, but she does, they're going to take her word and decide what teacher they have to kill because their child was brainwashed into becoming a woman. There is even more reasons to hate Walmart. Over a dozen stores in North Carolina were fined by the state for charging the wrong price. Not only do the company underpay the workers, they also steal their employees' money. Yes, the greatest theft in the United States is from corporations taking people's wages. And the laws are set up specifically so the only thing that they can actually do is sue for past wages. So no one sues because being in court for years to get the few extra dollars, getting a lawyer to take the case in the first place, these are what the corporation has set up the system to do. They set up the system to steal, and hundreds of billions of dollars are stolen every year. Now, Walmart's going even further than just stealing wages, forcing people to work off the clock, and taking away their overtime. In a new viral video, it shows just what Walmart is currently doing with, them raising prices due to corporations price gouging because they can get away with it. Take a look at this video.
You guys, Walmart is scamming people, so listen up. I was just at Walmart. I ran there for a few things to get a cake for, and online I searched Wilton chocolates. They were $2.62 online. I went to the store. In the aisle, it said that they were $2.62. I went to ring them up, and they were ringing up for $4 each. It kind of alarmed me, so I went to the cashier, and I was like, hey, these are a lot more expensive than they are online, and also they were listed in the aisle as an accurate price. She rang them up, and she price adjusted them down. I then proceeded to watch her ring up the rest of my stuff, and there were another 5 things that were ringing up higher than they were online and in the store. I understand inflation is making a lot of prices go up, but if the price is also indicating something online and you can buy it for that price online and it's that price in the aisle, they're scamming you. They're purposefully marking up prices. They're not telling you because most people are not going to check that when they're checking out. Be sure to check all of your items when you are checking out, and if it is not the same price, go tell the cashier. They'll put it at the right price. But I'm honestly legitimately disgusted because it happened with 6 items today when I was checking out. They're jacking up their prices and it's not aligned with inflation. They're ripping you off. I don't know how this isn't a lawsuit yet because how?
Now, the corporate media will ignore the fact that corporations are stealing billions of dollars every year, but they will put on TV a few hundred people stealing from a store en masse. Why? Because when the little guy steals from the big guy, that's news because it's not done. But when the big guy steals every single day, hundreds of billions of dollars throughout the year, that's normal. It's one of those dog bites mailman stories. But people standing up and fighting back, that's mailman biting dog, and that's newsworthy. See how the rich have rigged the system. Now, with the unionization across this nation, the poor are fighting back, but the corporations are breaking the laws, what few there are, to try to put them down. So support your union, because when people's wages go up, your wages go up as well. Now, when you hear of election fraud, what do you think? You think of the election fraud that the Republicans are doing, but their brain-dead cultars generally believe that only Democrats do election fraud. When Republicans take away the right to vote by gerrymandering the state, so Democrats win the state by 60%, but Republicans get to keep 80% of the seats. They don't see that as election fraud. They have a very specific thing. They believe dead people are voting. People are voting multiple times because that's what they've been told. And they don't really think all that well. But we do have another case of Republicans committing election fraud, this time out of New York. Now, get this. The petition centering on statewide Republican candidates seeking to run on an additional key ballot line in the November election by reviewing the moribund State Independence Party. The Times reported on Monday. A spokesman for the state Republican Party, Jessica Proud, confirmed to the Times Union that signed Independence Party petitions were later dropped at their party headquarters on State Street in Albany and bound in volumes at the party office before submission to the State Board of Elections on May 31st deadline. Now, all the signatures that they turned in, turns out they had Xerox copies inserted randomly throughout the entire thing. 12,000 signatures were invalid. 11,000 photocopied. 39,000 signatures that, weren't proven false. And they were 6,000 short. So this is what it goes on all the time. Republicans actually commit the fraud because when you look at the world, you see yourself. You see someone that is perfectly rational, that is just wrong. Republicans see exactly what they say. The government's corrupt because Republicans are corrupt. Elections are fraudulent because Republicans will take every single step to maintain power. Libertarian Party Secretary Andrew Cox-T said, Republicans talk a lot about election integrity, but the Ziegler campaign attempted to fly under the radar and submit over 11,000 fraudulent signatures in an attempt to get a third line on the ballot, while New York's oppressive ballot access laws, which were changed in 2020 to prevent third parties from getting on the ballot, prevent voter choice. Now, yes, we need more than just a two-party system, but that's all we currently have. But the Republicans are defending themselves as weak as they ever do. Proud said it was a mistake. They just took copies for their own records and they accidentally mixed them in with, the documents they submitted to the federal government. Man, I would like to accidentally mix in, extra deductions to my taxes, but I don't think anyone would buy that. And we really shouldn't buy this. Continuing on, the article points out, it is clear that the Zeldin campaign perpetrated a fraud. These sheets were assigned different page numbers in order to create the appearance that the pages contain separate valid signatures. These actions are clear and convincing. Yes, Republicans accidentally mixed it in at random after they changed the page numbers, because their personal files need to have different page numbers than what they turned into the government. Seems idiotic, doesn't it? But Republicans, once again trying to steal an election, fail, because the real election fraud is Republicans' voter suppression law. You can't actually commit fraud on the election system that easy. The reason why Republicans need to do all these shenanigans and take away your vote is because the fact is America doesn't want them. Republicans only win when you decide not to vote. They can't win without suppressing the vote. You can't win without voting. That's it. Republicans are starting to eat their own. Now, let me get you right to the point. There are no heroes in this story. Because Melissa Carone, who served as a star witness for Rudy Giuliani when he was trying to overthrow America, is being sued by a Republican clerk who she had accused of widespread variety of crimes. Defamation about conducting illegal elections and taking money from an immigrant to turn in a lottery ticket. Stan Grote, the Republican clerk, not a hero. He's one of the people that helped Trump forge presidential electors. Yeah. So we got someone trying to get Trump put into office that he lost by lying to the court about widespread Democratic voter fraud. And we got the Stan Grote who tried to get Trump illegally put into office by lying and saying he was an elector. So no matter who wins this lawsuit, yeah, they both deserve to be in prison. That's just it. Caroline's election case was stupid, but she did open herself up to a lot of lawsuits. Now, if Republicans were sued every time that they committed this type of stuff, we wouldn't have to deal with this. The media should actually point this out in the first place. I mean, how about this news headline? Republicans' baseless claim of election fraud again. It's unlikely to do anything. How about just that? It leaves the case open that Republicans might actually find election fraud someday, but since they've been looking for it for the last 30 years and found nothing, maybe the media should take a little bit more skeptical tone on their delusional stuff. Just a question. Washington Post has put together a video that you should see. Take a look.
Schiff actually standing up and saying you can't trust elections in the United States. You have to protect democracy by overturning elections. I have heard from people like I've never heard before over the last month about this election. They have major concerns about the integrity, the fairness of this election, and they expect me to stand up and to raise those concerns.
To try to overturn an election they're unhappy with, that is an abuse of the Constitution. We will together object to certification in order to force the appointment of an emergency electoral commission to perform an emergency audit of the election results.
We don't trust you, American people. You messed up in 2016 and voted for the wrong guy. We're not going to give you that opportunity in 2020. We're going to change the process.
It is time for these states to say, you know what, we need to revisit the way election law is being implemented. What we do is turn it back to the state legislature.
What the House is trying to do is remove the president from the ballot. They're trying to overturn the result of the 2016 election. That is very serious business, particularly when we're 10 months away from the American people being able to decide once again who should be president of the United States. We are not acting to thwart the democratic process. We're acting to protect it.
Let's put our trust in the American people. They are the ones who should make the judgment about the president, and they will do that in 9 months. Let's not be so arrogant as to take that decision away from the American people.
On January 6th, I will object to the Electoral College vote. That's right.
It isn't just that the Republicans are a failed institution in the United States. Over and over again, the news media will put together stuff like this. But the next day, they will put it right out of their mind, forget about it, because they're too lazy to go back and look at the work that they have done. Now, with each and every one of these Republicans, they should be banned from all media because they know what they're doing is wrong. It's not that this is a deeply held belief. It should be very specific on each and every article that they're quoted in of who these people are. Republican shills that will do anything for power. They'll take any position to damage the Democrats, any position to protect Republicans, and they do not care whatsoever what happens to you. Is that really the people you want in power? What Republicans actually feed on is rage and simple explanations. Rage should distract their viewers from actually thinking, and the simple explanations to make them believe that, hey, they're smart enough to actually understand this, so they don't actually have to look into it too deeply. See, that's how the trick works. They say America's economy would be better with tax cuts. And we've seen Republicans' experiments with tax cuts drive their states into the ground. The fact that Republican states have higher crime, higher unemployment, lower wages, contribute nothing to the United States, have worse roads, worse healthcare, worse education. This should be top form every single time they bring up any of those topics. Why should we trust you when Republican states have higher crime? You say this crime bill that you're pushing will lower crime, but these are the same policies in red states that have 40% more violent crime in them. So why should we adopt it on a national level? If Republicans actually cared, they would start with their states first, right? Now, Republican dogma has got them into trouble over and over again. But the Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade has made it so Republican states are going to be failing at a much quicker pace than they currently are. You see, when Republicans passed the abortion ban, the Supreme Court said very clearly that no one relies on abortion in the United States, so they didn't have to take a higher standard in repealing it. Their standard to repeal it was because we wanted to and we're going to just make stuff up. But the consequences of their actions is, let's say, extreme. Now, children in red states are actively looking to leave their state for college. Now, we have Republican trash papers demanding that the students not leave their state because it might ruin their future. The reason why Republicans are trying to leave their states to go to college in blue states that will still have abortion, because if they get someone pregnant or get pregnant themselves and they can't get an abortion, guess what? Their college career is over, completely ruining their futures. So, no one's going to want to go to college in a red state. Be a cheaper place to go here in a couple years. They can't fill their seats without giving massive discounts or requiring the state to pay more for the college, which is, as you should know, very unlikely because Republicans don't want to raise taxes on businesses and the rich to pay for anything. Now it goes just beyond kids looking for college. How about doctors? Republicans should be able to recruit doctors, right? I mean, other than, OBGYNs. But it turns out that's not the case. Doctors also don't want to work in red states. You know who also doesn't want to work in red states? Corporations. Corporations are planning to move out of red states and expand other places because the people who rely on abortions don't want to work in red states. So corporations can't recruit people. Those that are recruiting doctors can't recruit people. So Republican states are going to be devoid of, what is already subclass healthcare, and the jobs will start leaving red states as blue states pick up those corporations. Now, corporations are happy to supply money to the Republican Party when Republicans cut regulations and cut taxes, making it very easy for them to exploit the American people. But corporations still require people to work for them. And those people don't want to be stuck in a Republican state. So recruitment is truly astonishing how Republicans' forethought works. Let's win this election, figure out the rest later on. Now, is that good for governments? We can see what happened to red states. Do you want that to happen to your state? It doesn't matter what's going on or how much Republicans are currently screwing up. Fox propaganda will make things up. Check out this video.
These people who said they would unite the country, end the armed civil war in Biden's term, it's just going to be so divisive. You can just feel the rage on all sides just sort of amping up. That's what's so depressing about all this.
And Steve, President Trump took that approach. He said, you know what, we're not going to prosecute Hillary Clinton.
Exactly.
We're not going, despite the blatant destruction of thousands and thousands of documents with BleachBit that she got to decide what would get presented to the archives and what he said, you know what, let's move on, let's move forward. But they are just incapable of doing it when it comes to him.
Exactly. Very well put. We have to leave it.
They had gone after Clinton for decades. Republicans, or Trump Republicans, made this their big campaign issue. They hated all the corruption, and if they could actually have put her in jail, they would have. But then again, Republicans have been investigating her for the past 40 years. Dozens of investigations, no crimes. It's very simple. Republicans are projecting all their criminality on Clinton. She didn't do any of it. But they would have done it in her place. Now, Fox News pretending like this guy has any thoughts in his head whatsoever has been the downfall of the Republican Party. It might destroy America, but they will definitely go down in history books, right up there with all the other authoritarians that failed in trying to run a country. Because when you de-educate the population and demand everybody be completely loyal to the party, every bit of stupidity builds on itself until it collapses the entire system. No authoritarian has ever ran a successful country for more than a few years. Because when the people that actually know how to do stuff start disappearing and start running for their lives, the countries always collapse. No matter how easy it seems in the first place, they never succeed. Now, breaking news. There is evidence that a single person has had it out for Trump. Now, there was a single person that put Christopher Wray in as the FBI director. And he was the one that ran that raid into Trump's property. And there was a same guy who signed a law that changed taking classified information from a misdemeanor to a felony. Did both of them. But there is more beyond that. Someone had the Department of Justice go to court and get the court to agree that there was special needs for declassification of the documents. And it's on the tip of my tongue. I know there was one guy that did all that, but I can't quite remember his name. So there's clearly someone out to get Trump, because doing all three of those things and then Trump violating and being responsible for all three of those things, that just seems a little bit too much of a coincidence. Now, who was that? So California has gone completely socialist. At least that's what we're going to be hearing from the Republicans. California has become the first state to offer free food to all students. Where 1 in 5 students don't know where their next meal comes from, they're going to do a lot better in school. And children doing good in school promotes a good economy. So once again, blue states are going to pull forward with a much better economy because they get food. And when you're not hungry, you can do a lot better in school. I really wish I had this program back when I was in school. So this is a massive win for progressives and a massive win for California school kids. All right, now if you like those videos, help me make more. Like, subscribe down below, or you can go to my Patreon page and help support us. Or if you really want to help stop global warming, down below there's a power pipe that could end global warming in the next decade.